Eskom says Thuli Madonsela's state of capture report is based on speculation. The mastermind behind Chris Hani's murder, Clive Darby Lewis, has died. A very good evening to you. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandile Gangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are Eskom and ANC stalwarts.
President Jacob Zuma is weighing his options on whether or not to take the Public Protector's state capture report on review. While the report presents damning evidence Thuli Madonsela has gathered, it deliberately shies away from making conclusive findings against Zuma, the Gupta family, or any of the others who've been implicated. Experts say this could shield it from being overturned in the courts. However, one legal analyst believes there is a loophole.
She's unlikely to admit it, but advocate Thuli Madonsela's state of capture report appears to have strategy written all over it. With limited time and resources, she makes few conclusive findings. In fact, she calls them observations. In most instances, she merely points to possible violations of the Constitution or other laws.
I don't think there's a live smoking gun. The report uses language like concerned on the part of the Public Protector that ministers who were, were at the compound before being appointed. It's cautious, it's not definitive.
But she does include significant pieces of evidence she's uncovered. The report is marked final, making it impossible for her successor to revisit it, even if she wanted to. She then strategically kicks it over to the Chief Justice to ensure a credible and definitive judicial commission. This takes the power to appoint the commission away from President Jacob Zuma. In this case, there's an obvious conflict of interest, as Zuma is one of the probe's subjects.
I think by the end, this is not someone who could possibly have trusted the president to have done the right thing. So her call to get the Mokheng to be the person who appoints the judge for the Judicial Commission is very telling.
It's been suggested the inconclusive language and the order for a full-on probe diffuses the potential for a successful judicial review by the president or others implicated in the report. But one potential loophole does exist.
The president might argue that he is the only one in terms of the Constitution who can appoint a commission of inquiry, and the Public Protector is now usurping his powers, and they might argue that there's a separation of powers problem. This has not been decided by the courts at all in South Africa, so it will make a very interesting case.
So while few foresee a successful judicial review, Zuma's costly appetite for legal showdowns is well known, as is his dismal track record before the country's courts. Thulasizwe Semelane, Johannesburg.
It was a tearful day for Eskom CEO Brian Molefe. He broke down during the announcement of the parastatal's interim results. He accuses former Public Protector Thuli Madonsela of dragging his name through the mud. Her report on state capture reveals strong links between Molefe and the controversial Gupta family.
Magazine from the publication eNew publishes.
Tears and anger.
Thuli Madonsela has struck a deadly blow against Eskom and against the people of South Africa. If we lose Brian, she takes the blame.
An emotional day at Eskom. The interim results soon overshadowed by the Public Protector's state of capture report.
If you don't mind, we will just maybe give Mr. Molefe a chance to compose himself.
Madonsela says Eskom's coal contract with Gupta-owned Tegeta Resources was solely for the benefit of that company and needs investigating. But Molefe, who has never denied being friends with a powerful family, said he did nothing wrong in awarding the deal.
And I must say, on that day that the sale agreement was signed, I was not there pointing a gun at anybody's head. I never threatened anyone that if they don't buy and so on, nothing. They did it.
Molefe has taken issue with cell phone tracking records. that show he was at or near the Gupta's Saxonwold home 19 times between August and November last year. He says the records don't prove he actually visited the Guptas on those occasions.
There's a shebeen there. I think it's 2 streets away from the Gupta house. Now, I will not admit or deny that I was going to the shebeen, but because I haven't, my young wife is not aware that there's a shebeen there.
Eskom's chairperson was furious with the former public protector.
You insult people, you accuse them just from hearsay, you don't give them a chance for them to come and present their case, and then you write a report and you call it final. Why was it necessary to do so? This could have been left to the new public protector.
The power utility says it will comment in more detail on Friday. Jody Jacobs, Johannesburg.
The ANC has thrown its full weight behind President Jacob Zuma. This despite Zuma being implicated in the Public Protector's State of Capture report. The explosive report suggests that Zuma may have violated the Executive Ethics Code by turning a blind eye to the abuse exerted on government and its officials by his friends, the Gupta family, assisted by his son, Duduzane. Long-standing members of the ANC must return to their branches and force change from within the party. That's the message from a group of ANC stalwarts. They want an urgent meeting with President Jacob Zuma to address the party's alarming decline. And former President Thabo Mbeki has appealed to President Jacob Zuma to listen to the veterans.
Sadly, at the center of this disgraceful behavior sits our president.
Tough words from people whose hearts pump black, green and gold. Over 100 ANC members of many years standing are demanding a frank conversation with the party. They've gone public with that call after claiming they'd been frustrated by internal party processes.
We wanted and we still want to have a meeting with the president and the leadership so that we discuss all those issues together with them and find solutions.
Former President Thabo Mbeki rarely speaks out on party matters, but he's now stepped in to encourage President Jacob Zuma to heed the call. This group believes the ANC is hurtling towards a point of no return and will implode and be voted out of power in 2019 after years of self-inflicted scandals and corruption.
It's time for the organization to consider a consultative conference. We all know from what you've read how it's been paired off, poo-pooed, but unfortunately there is no escaping from the fact that the organization is in a state that requires, once again, the utilization of that mechanism.
Among those present were struggle heavyweights Ahmed Katrada, Andre Mlangeni and Gertrude Shope. Andrat Shaka Rachitanga, who travelled by taxi from Polokwane to help save the organization he joined 58 years ago.
Something went wrong, and we must try to remove something that went wrong in the movement.
We just don't know if this proposed meeting with President Jacob Zuma will take place, or what the outcomes of such an interaction will be. But if this grouping is successful in changing the direction of the ANC, it will need the president's input. Without his ear, these stalwarts will need to make other plans. Nicholas Bauer, Johannesburg.
Clive Derby-Lewis has died. He masterminded the assassination of SACP leader Chris Hani in 1993. For that, he was sentenced to life. The 80-year-old was granted medical parole last year after suffering terminal lung cancer. His health deteriorated after he was hospitalized last week. His wife, Gay, has described him as a good man who was honest and respectful. Further afield, at least 16 people have died in a train collision in Pakistan. Police say it's the country's second large rail accident in less than 2 months. At least 40 people were injured and taken to Karachi's Jinnah hospital. In September, more than 4 people were killed and 93 injured when an express train collided with a freight train in Punjab province. 18 people were killed. The speedboat was carrying around 100 people when it struck a reef and sank. The Indonesian Disaster Agency says 44 people are unaccounted for. One crew member is being investigated for illegally transporting passengers. Another crew member fled the scene after the incident. Thank you so much, Sandy Levitz. University students hoping to write exams at a later date have been dealt a blow. Their application has been dismissed by the South Gauteng High Court. The students had earlier applied to have exams postponed to later this month or January next year, but they dropped that application, opting to sit for the deferred exams. The university has welcomed the ruling. We end with this. The remaining 3 non-executive SABC board members are opposing a move to probe their fitness to hold office. They've written to the Portfolio Committee on Communications, citing fear of prejudice as the main reason of objection. They want a different committee to carry out the probe. The committee has raised the matter with the National Assembly's Chair of Chairs for guidance. If you've missed any of the stories we're tracking for you tonight, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's eNCA.com/direct. After the break, your business news as well as your weather. Eskom has reported a 10.5% increase in revenue to over 97 billion rand for the 6 months ending September. The power utility announced its results today.
Eskom CEO Brian Molefe says nearly 100,000 additional households have been electrified over the past 6 months. Molefe says primary energy costs decreased by 1.5% compared to an average increase of 18% over the past 5 years. Overall electricity sales volumes increased by just over 1% for the reporting period.
The biggest increase in electricity sales volumes has been a growth in international sales, export of electricity by South Africa to neighboring countries, up by 31.6%.
The company's 5-year plan aims to re-establish it as a catalyst for economic growth rather than a constraint. Molefe insists the country needs to introduce nuclear into the energy mix to avoid load shedding in 2026.
At the moment, in fact, the nuclear fleet is the most profitable of the entire fleet. And the nuclear plants have a life of up to 8 years. And we estimate that the repayment period will be about 20 years.
There's been a substantial rise in municipal arrear debt from 6.5 billion rand in September last year to 9.2 billion rand this September. The utility says it's considering implementing the prepaid billing method nationally as a way of curbing this debt. John Bailey, Johannesburg.
South Africa is making little progress in turning around the economy. That's the view of ratings agency S&P. The agency says political wrangling has delayed the implementation of reforms. This has in turn raised the risk of a credit downgrade to sub-investment grade. S&P says it would like to see government issue a progress report on how the growth outlook has improved in the medium term. It also wants to see whether business confidence has improved. And with that, let's see how the markets closed. Here's Louis with your weather details.
Hello everyone. Time for a quick check of your Friday's weather conditions, and a weak front will make its way over the Western Cape during the course of the day, bringing mainly coastal rain to the province, while over the interior, showers and thunderstorms will be redeveloping once again, especially for the northwest and the Free State, but around Gauteng and Mpumalanga and in KwaZulu-Natal, a few thunder showers will also be developing in places. A hot day for the low felt with temperatures in the upper 30s, although it remains dry for that area. In KZN, we're also expecting some hot weather, mainly for the interior of the province later Ladysmith, you get to a high of 37 degrees. Thunder showers possible for most places. And in the Eastern Cape, there's also a likelihood for showers and thunderstorms. Much of the thunder activity will be over the eastern interior of the province, and some evening rainfall could settle in along the coastline. For the Western Cape, with the front moving through, the rain will be around along the Atlantic coastline earlier in the day, including around Vredendal, and that rain will spread towards the southern coastline by afternoon and into the evening. The Northern Cape will be mostly dry, but there is a possibility for thunder showers around Portsmouthburg, the Kuruman Hills, as well as around Kimberley. And in the Free State, we're expecting scattered thunder showers to develop in the afternoon and evening. That could even bring some good falls of rain, especially for the central and northern parts of the province. In the northwest, very similar conditions expected for this area. Most places get to about 30 or just above in the afternoon. Scattered storms for Mahikeng, and there's just isolated thunder showers for the southern parts of Limpopo. And as we've already seen, it's going to be a very hot day in the Lowveld, where we don't expect any rainfall. Along with that, Skukuza gets to 40 degrees in Mpumalanga, but the Highveld won't be as hot as that, and there are a few thunder showers for the area. Similar conditions for Gauteng, a warm to hot afternoon, isolated thunder showers developing over the area, and it will also be a warm start to the day. Johannesburg, you have a minimum of 17 degrees. On Saturday, there'll be thunder showers all across the Highveld once again, a mostly cloudy and wet day for Durban and Richards Bay. And on Sunday, things warm up for Cape Town with a high of 24 and a few thunder showers spread into the Northern Cape. Uppington, you reach a high of 33.
Thank you, Louis. Bill Cosby tries to prevent more than a dozen women from testifying against him. Those details after this. From Beyonce stealing the show at the 50th Annual Country Music Awards to Bill Cosby's legal problems.
Time now to take a look at entertainment news making headlines around the world.
It's billed as country music's biggest night, but it was pop queen Beyonce who took the spotlight at the 50th Annual Country Music Awards yesterday. On social media, her inclusion in an awards show that seldom features African Americans was passionately debated. Beyonce brought the A-list audience to its feet, performing Daddy Lessons from her latest album, Lemonade. Bill Cosby's lawyers are trying to prevent more than a dozen women from testifying against him. He's charged with molesting a former basketball coach. Lawyers say the comedian's deteriorating eyesight will make it difficult for him to recognize his accusers, but prosecutors want to prove there was a pattern of drugging, then attacking his victims. And Donald Trump's bid for the US presidency has been chronicled in a new comic book. The Road to the White House hit the shelves a week before the election. The 25-page book highlights the early days of the Republican nominee's campaign.
A reminder of your top stories before we say goodbye. Eskom says Thuli Madonsela's state of capture report is based on speculation. Clive Derby-Lewis, the mastermind behind Chris Hani's murder, has died. A wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Yes, indeed. Until we see you tomorrow, take care.